Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm Marina Orms, the founder of Astrology Heals at astrologyheals.com, and I am doing some interviews with badass women. I'm super excited because I have a very important badass woman who's here today, and she is my daughter. This is Emily Rice, and thanks for being here, Emily.
Of course. So excited to be here.
Woohoo! And I can see Amber the cat walking through the backyard behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, she's making a cameo there, so that's awesome. So Emily is a badass martial artist, and she's going to be telling us a little bit more about what she does. And she just came from practice, so she's still got her uniform on there. So super glad to have you. So and Emily is an Aquarius sun. And so tell us a little bit about what makes you a badass.
Okay, so this is kind of the stereotype of what it means to be an Aquarius, but sometimes stereotypes are true. So what I would say makes me a badass is my ability to think outside the box and do things differently, questioning stereotypes. And I think that has always been a really big part of who I am and something that I really like about myself. And it shows up in all kinds of different ways.
That's super cool. Can you give me an example?
There's lots of examples, but one thing, since we were talking about Taekwondo, is questioning the stereotype of what women are and are not capable of, and power breaking is, I think, a big part of what makes me an Aquarius badass, women's power breaking. A lot of people wouldn't think that breaking boards is for women, but that's not true.
Right, right. No, that is super duper badass because there really are very few women in the world that do that. And so tell us a little bit about what power breaking is.
Power breaking is either using a kick or a hand technique, a strike, to see how many wooden boards or concrete slabs you can break with one technique.
With one strike. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. And so how many can you break?
My current record is 7 boards, and I can break 3 concrete slabs. And my instructor is the world record holder in women's power breaking. She can break 11 boards with one kick. So she's always been my inspiration and somebody I've really looked up to. And she started the women's power breaking movement to get more women involved in power breaking. So that is something that I get to be a part of, which is awesome.
Super cool. Super awesome. So, so Aquarius has given you like that, that ability to see what's possible beyond the limitations. Is that how you would describe that?
Yeah, I would say so. It's ever since I was a little kid, it's almost like just this desire to be anything except like the norm. Like when I was little, I used to think that like being normal was the worst possible like thing. And I would always try I would always do things differently. Like when it came to like what music I listened to or how I dressed, I never wanted to fit in with the crowd. And that's just always been a part of who I am.
Cool. So that helps you like go beyond limitations to do things that other people would never think of doing.
Right.
What are some of the challenges of being an Aquarius?
I think that the biggest challenge of being an Aquarius is the tendency toward like isolating yourself. And I think that's like a lesson that I've learned is not doing something differently and thinking like that nobody understands and that you have the one right way, but instead like being the leader to seeing a different way of doing things and showing other people that things can be done differently and finding that like connection rather than just like going off and doing it by yourself your own way, if that makes sense.
I think so. So like just so that's a specific way that you've overcome the tendency to like sort of detach yourself or isolate yourself,
Yeah.
is to find like, instead of thinking of it as like, oh, nobody understands, to think of it as, oh, I have something that I could show to other people, like, or that
Yeah.
might be helpful to them.
Yeah, exactly. And also another thing is like not feeling like you're misunderstood, but instead being really proud of the way you do things and being proud of doing things differently. And just, I think the more that you can like wear that loud and proud, the more other people will see the value in that and will be more likely to join in and be able to see your way of doing things.
Love that. Really love that. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how Aquarius focused this is, but something has always really stayed with me that you shared with me once, and I know we talked about it during one of our deep conversations, but it was about how when you're confronting a challenge, like doing the impossible, breaking more boards than you've ever broken before, or doing a new technique that you've never done before, that the way that you have to embrace the, like, well, can you just speak more to that, like about kind of how you approach that moment?
Yeah. So we've talked about before kind of like the paradox of believing in yourself and believing that you're capable of something and putting everything you have into accomplishing your goal while also being able to let go of that goal and know that like it's okay if you fail because there's always a chance to try again and you can still believe in yourself to that same degree while still knowing in the back of your mind that if you don't achieve your goal this time, that it's not the end of the world.
I
Is
love
that
it.
what you were getting at?
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I think that's such a powerful way of thinking, and that's part of what Aquarius is so amazing at, is just like having these new perspectives and new ways of thinking about things that can help us go beyond what we thought was possible. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so what you're saying is like, um when you walk up to a challenge like that, which it's a very tangible challenge when you're going up against some wooden boards, like you're
Yeah,
talking about 7 1-inch pine boards. And but it's also like such a good metaphor for things in our lives, right? Things that we feel challenged or not sure we can accomplish, and
totally.
take risks. And that when you approach that challenge with an embracing of that paradox, that you're both capable and you may not succeed. It's like, and I think one of the ways you put it to me one time is that you have to give yourself the complete chance of succeeding by fully believing in yourself, but also it being okay if you fail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like giving yourself the best possible chance to succeed. And
That's
I think that, yeah, that power breaking for me is kind of like, it's such just like a perfect, like, way to learn that process of working through challenges and working towards your goals because it's like you said, it's such a tangible thing and it's such a good metaphor for all of the challenges that we face in life. So that process of building up board by board all the way up until 7, and I'm always raising my goals and setting the bar higher each time. And that process has taught me so much about how to set goals in my life and work through the challenges that I face. And that mindset that we were talking about is just so important in accomplishing goals in any area of your life. Knowing that you have to put everything into achieving that goal, but also being okay with failure.
Nice. Yeah. Can you share about a time that you failed, that you didn't break the boards?
Yeah, the biggest time that comes to mind is the first time I ever tried to break 6 boards, and I hit the edge, and the corner of the boards hit right in the arch of my foot, and none of them broke. So it was like full force, this stack of wood hitting right in the soft part of my foot. And so I was like unable to train for a week or so because of that. And it was definitely a disappointing and frustrating moment. And it took a lot to overcome that, because each time I stepped up to the boards after that, I was thinking about that, and it took a lot of my confidence away, and I had to build that back up. But I kept going, even though it happened a couple more times after that where I hit that same spot on my foot, and each time it brought back all those feelings of frustration. But eventually I was able to work through it, move past it.
Yeah, my memory of that was that it was a little longer than a week. Yeah, took you a few weeks to really heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so can you tell about a time when you really had that feeling of victory, and how that, like, that contrast between the failure and the success?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say the moment that comes to mind is the first time that I successfully broke 6 boards in competition. And this was about a year. Was it a year later, or was it the same year? I can't remember.
Probably about a year later.
I think it was about a year later that happened. And it was at a national competition that I go to every year. And the previous year I'd broken 5, so I was going for 6. And I had been practicing really hard, but definitely had a little bit of nervousness about it because of that experience I had hitting the corner. But I went into it feeling really confident, and everybody around me was saying, "Oh, everybody's missing Emily. You should just try 5. Do what you know you can do." And I said, "No, I'm going to try 6. I know I can do it." I was feeling really confident, and I had 6 competitors, all of which went before me. I think I was the last one, maybe close to the last one to go at least. And everybody who stepped up before me was just like miss after miss after miss. And they called me forward, and the judge, you could tell, just like didn't think I was going to break 6. Like, nobody before me, they were breaking like 2 or 3, and she was like, "Oh, here we go again." And I smashed them, and she was like, just had this look of shock. And that was like one of the happiest moments of my life.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
So cool. And obviously I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. And I think it really does illustrate the process that we go through, and the way that, we can just have to work through those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, really awesome. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. I think that, like, our culture, it's definitely, I feel really lucky to have had Taekwondo in my life, because I definitely think that it's a cultural fear that we're afraid of failure, and we're afraid of putting everything we have into achieving our goals because we're afraid of failure. And so I feel really lucky to have had Taekwondo in my life, because it is like the epitome of this safe, supportive environment where everybody's going to cheer you on no matter whether you succeed or fail. And so having that has allowed me to bring that mindset into other areas of my life, and which brings us back to the theme of Aquarius, of questioning that cultural mindset of being afraid of failure and only trying the safe things where we know we can succeed, but instead taking those risks and being willing to fail.
Awesome. Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you for adding that. You kind of answered the last question I was going to ask, but I'll see if you have anything else to add. Like, is there any advice you would give to other Aquarius, especially women who are learning to step into their badass selves?
Yeah, definitely what we just talked about, but more Aquarius themed. I would come back to what we were talking about at the beginning of just loving yourself for who you are and really being proud of what you do differently and sharing that with the world, not being ashamed or feeling misunderstood for doing things differently, but just really wearing it loud and proud and being like the leader of change.
Nice. Great. Those are beautiful last words. And I just want to add that you're 19 and you just you have your second degree black belt in Taekwondo, and you just earned your instructor certificate. So you're going to be going on and teaching this amazing technique and spreading it, and it just feels amazing. Gives me hope in the world. So thank you.
Yay!
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Mom.
Bye-bye.
Bye.